My parents raised their champagne glasses at my college graduation dinner and said the words I'll never forget. "We wish you were never born." The entire table went silent. My aunt's fork clattered onto her plate. My younger sister, golden child, always, smiled into her napkin. I was 22 years old. Summa cum laude. Finance degree. 2 jobs through school. And my own parents just told me I was a mistake. In front of everyone. What would you do? Walk out? Cry? Scream? I did none of those things. Because I had something they didn't know about. Proof. Documents. A plan. And what I did next didn't just shock them. It changed everything. But to understand what happened in that courtroom 3 weeks later, you need to know how long this had been coming. Before we go further, drop a comment. Where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to know who's here. And if you're new, hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to see how this ends. I grew up in a house where love was conditional. My sister got the car at 16. Brand new. I got a bus pass. She got her college tuition paid in full. I got student loans and 2 part-time jobs. When she wanted to study abroad, my parents wrote the check. When I asked for help with textbooks, my mom said, "You're so smart. Figure it out." I did. I worked the campus library until midnight. I tutored on weekends. I kept every receipt, every email, every bank statement in a folder on my laptop. Finance major. I save everything. My parents always said it was about fairness, that my sister needed more support. But my grandparents saw it differently. 10 years ago, on my 12th birthday, my grandma handed me a card. Inside was a note in her shaky handwriting. "Your trust unlocks at graduation. You'll be taken care of. We promise." I kept that card. My grandparents passed when I was 19. I couldn't go to the funeral. I was working a double shift and couldn't afford the flight. My parents went. My sister went. They never mentioned the trust. I didn't ask. I assumed it was safe. Managed. Waiting. I graduated summa cum laude. I thought that dinner was going to be a celebration. I thought graduation would be my fresh start. I had no idea it would be a war. 2 days after the dinner, my parents called. "We need to talk about your finances." I met them at their house. My sister was there too, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed. My dad slid a folder across the table. "We've been managing your trust fund as co-trustees. Your grandparents set it up years ago." I nodded. I knew that much. "There's $150,000. My heart jumped. "But your sister has some medical expenses coming up. We need you to sign this paperwork to defer distribution. Just for a year or 2. I opened the folder. It was a deferral agreement, until I turned 25. "Medical expenses?" I asked. My sister looked away. My mom jumped in. "She needs surgery. It's important." "What kind of surgery?" Silence. I looked at my sister's face. No scars, no braces, no sign of anything urgent. Then I saw her new nose, the lips, the cheekbones, cosmetic. "That's my money," I said quietly. "From Grandma and Grandpa. For me." My dad's face went red. "Your sister needs this. You've always been so selfish. I've worked 2 jobs since I was 16. And we let you live at home," my mom snapped. "You owe us." I stood up. "I'm not signing." My dad's voice went cold. "If you don't sign, you're out of this family for good." I walked out, and that's when they made their first mistake. Within 48 hours, my phone exploded. Texts from aunts, uncles, cousins. "Why won't you help your sister? She's having a medical emergency and you're being selfish. We're so disappointed in you." My sister posted a tearful video on Instagram. "My sibling won't help me when I need it most." 300 likes in an hour. Then my boss called me into her office. Someone had sent an anonymous email claiming I'd embezzled money from a prior internship. It wasn't true. I'd never even had access to accounts. But HR had to investigate. I tried to access the trust account online. Locked. I called the bank. "You'll need co-trustee approval to view or withdraw." My parents were the co-trustees. I sat in my car in the parking lot and thought I'd lost everything before I even started. No family, no trust. My job on the line. I wanted to cry. But I didn't. Because I had one thing they didn't know about. A folder I'd been building since I was 16. I went home, opened my laptop, and started pulling files. 3 years earlier, during a summer visit, my grandpa had taken me to his attorney's office. "I want you to see this," he'd said, "so you know it's real." The attorney printed a copy of the trust document. I scanned it on my phone and saved it to the cloud. I opened that file now. Official letterhead, my grandparents' signatures at the bottom. And right there in section 3, highlighted in yellow by the attorney himself. Beneficiary. My name. Sole beneficiary. Distribution trigger. 22nd birthday or college graduation, whichever comes first. Funds shall not be commingled or used for any purpose other than beneficiary education or distribution at age 22. I read it again. Sole beneficiary. Not my sister, not my parents, me, and there was more. Custodial trustees hold no discretionary spending power. Distributions require beneficiary written consent. They couldn't touch it, but they had. They weren't managing the trust. They were stealing it. And I had proof they'd been lying for years. But I needed to know how much they'd already taken. So I kept digging. My parents didn't wait. 4 days after I walked out, they filed a petition with the probate court. The claim? I was financially irresponsible and emotionally unstable. They wanted the court to extend their control over the trust until I turned 25. 3 more years. My sister's friend, a paralegal, sent me a cease and desist letter. Defamation. Because I'd told 2 close friends the truth. Then my mom changed the locks on the family home. I'd stored my childhood belongings there. Boxes of photos, my grandparents' letters, yearbooks. I drove over, tried my key, didn't work. I knocked. My sister answered, smiled, and closed the door. I stood on the porch and saw her brand new car in the driveway. A white SUV with dealer plates. The court hearing was set for 2 weeks out. 14 days to prove my case or lose everything. I needed more than the trust document. I needed the money trail, so I called the bank and used a clause I'd found buried in the trust language. Beneficiary has the right to request a full accounting at any time. They tried to stall. I quoted the section number. 3 days later, a PDF landed in my inbox. Transaction history. 4 years. Every withdrawal. And I found it. $68,000. Gone. The report showed every transaction. Date, amount, description. Disbursement, vehicle down payment. $12,000. Disbursement, rental assistance. $18,000 over 2 years. Disbursement, medical consultation. $9,000. 3 separate charges. Disbursement, family travel. $11,000. Not a single dollar had gone to my education. I had $92,000 in student loans to prove it. Every withdrawal was signed by both my parents. And then I saw the worst part. 6 distribution requests, signed with my name. But I hadn't signed them. 2 of them were dated when I was studying abroad. No phone, no internet for 3 weeks. I called a friend from school who'd gone into forensic accounting. She looked at the signatures. These are forged. See the angle on the capital letters? That's not your hand. You should file a police report. I stared at the screen. They'd stolen $68,000. And they'd forged my signature to cover it up. Now I knew exactly how deep the betrayal went. And I knew exactly why they were so desperate to keep me quiet. I ran a public record search. It took 10 minutes. My parents had filed for bankruptcy 2 years earlier. The case was dismissed, then refiled 6 months later. Total unsecured debt, $89,450. Credit cards, a second mortgage, personal loans. I cross-referenced the dates with my sister's Instagram. New Cartier watch, posted the same week as a $15,000 trust withdrawal. Europe trip, posted 3 days after an $11,000 family travel disbursement. Nose job reveal video, 2 weeks after the $9,000 medical consultation. Every post matched a withdrawal. Then I found the kicker. I went back to the trust document and read the fine print at the end. Section 12. Upon distribution, an independent accounting shall be provided to the beneficiary and the original estate attorney within 30 days. An automatic audit. If I took control at 22, the attorney would see everything. The missing money, the forged signatures, the fraud. They didn't hate me. They needed me silent. And they were willing to destroy me to stay hidden. But silence was the one thing I wouldn't give them. Now I knew exactly what to do. I used $200 from my graduation gift, money from a professor who'd mentored me, and paid for a consultation with a trust and estate attorney. Her name was Linda Martin. I showed her everything. The trust, the transaction log, the forged signatures, the bankruptcy filing. She didn't blink. This is embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty, identity theft. You have a case. What do? We file an emergency motion to remove them as trustees. We freeze the account. We compel a full accounting. And we let the court handle it. How long? Your hearing is in 9 days. We can piggyback on their petition. They opened the door. I paid her retainer with the rest of my graduation money, $400. She knocked it down from $800 because she believed me. We filed that night. Emergency petition for removal of trustees and preliminary injunction. I also filed a police report for identity theft. 6 forged signatures. The detective took copies of everything. I didn't post on social media. I didn't text my family. I didn't tell anyone except my 2 closest friends. I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. And I wanted my future back. The hearing was set for 9 a.m. on a Thursday. I didn't tell my parents I was coming with a lawyer. The courtroom was small, wood paneling, fluorescent lights, nothing like TV. My parents sat on one side with my sister's paralegal friend. Not a real attorney. Linda and I sat on the other side. The judge was a woman in her 60s. She looked tired. The clerk read the case number. My dad stood first, started talking about how I'd always been difficult, how I didn't understand responsibility. The judge cut him off. "I'm here to review the trust, not family history. Do you have documentation?" He stammered. Pulled out a folder. Bank statements. The judge glanced at them. These show withdrawals. What were they for? Family expenses. We were managing the funds responsibly. Was the beneficiary consulted? Silence. Then Linda stood. "Your Honor, I represent the beneficiary. We have evidence of unauthorized disbursements, forged signatures, and breach of fiduciary duty." She put the trust document on the overhead projector. The clause lit up on the screen behind the judge. Sole beneficiary, distribution at age 22, no discretionary spending. She clicked to the next slide. Transaction log, $68,000 in red. Vehicle, rent, cosmetic surgery, travel. My mom tried to interrupt. Those were emergencies. Linda played a recording. My dad's voicemail from the night after I walked out. "You were a mistake. You've always been a mistake. Don't ever come back here." The room went silent. Linda placed the forged signature comparison on the projector. Side by side, my real signature, the fake ones. These were signed while my client was out of the country. Unreachable. The judge leaned forward. "Do you have an explanation for this?" My parents looked at each other. My dad tried. "We thought she'd agree. That's forgery," the judge said. She wrote something down. Then she looked up. "I'm removing you as trustees effective immediately. A neutral trustee will be appointed within 48 hours. This matter is being referred to the district attorney for investigation. Bailiff, please serve the restraining order." My mom started crying. My dad sat frozen. My sister, watching from the gallery, got up and left. The judge looked at me. "You'll have access to your funds within 30 days. "I'm sorry this happened." I nodded. Linda touched my shoulder. We walked out of that courtroom, and I took my first free breath in 22 years. 30 days later, a neutral trustee was appointed by the court. His name was Richard, retired banker, no connection to my family. He released $82,000 to me. The remainder after the withdrawals plus 4 years of interest. My parents' bankruptcy case was reopened with fraud allegations attached. They entered a court-ordered repayment plan. 24 months. Garnished wages. They also lost all co-signing privileges on any future family accounts or trusts. My sister sent me one text a week later. I didn't know. I didn't reply. But I didn't block her either. I left the door open for her to do their own work. That's on her now. I used $20,000 to pay down my student loans. $10,000 went toward moving to a new city for a job offer I'd received a month before graduation. A dream position at a firm that believed in me. $15,000 went into a scholarship fund in my grandparents' names. For first-generation college students who work while they study. The rest went into savings. Managed by me, only me. I didn't make a single social media post about it. I didn't call out my parents publicly. I didn't shame my sister. I just moved on. Quiet boundaries. A few months later, my parents sent an email. Subject line, "We're sorry." The message was 2 sentences. Excuses. No real accountability. I didn't respond. The restraining order expired after 6 months, but I kept the no contact by choice. I'm in therapy now, working through it. I have a chosen family, friends who show up, a mentor who checks in. I'm building something new, and I'm not afraid anymore. Here's what I learned. You don't owe anyone access to your peace, even if they share your blood. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival, and keeping receipts isn't about revenge. It's about truth. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set a hard boundary with family? What was the moment you knew you had to walk away or fight back? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story helped you feel less alone, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone, I promise. This has been a fictionalized dramatization and is not legal or financial advice. But the lesson is real. Protect yourself. Keep your records, and never let anyone convince you that standing up for yourself is selfish. I'll see you in the next one.